In these 400 seconds, I'm going to convince you that you can future-proof your professional reputation by being active and visible in social media. Whenever I talk about using social media for research, I hear from people who are afraid of using these tools for any business purpose whatsoever. Even those interested in using social media don't know how to get started. For this discussion, we'll define social media participation as sharing content of professional interest on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Google+, Ning, or Quora. These happen to be my 6 favorite platforms. I don't mean to imply that this is an exhaustive list by any stretch of the imagination. I do need to caveat this advice by saying that all advice on social media should be taken with a grain of salt. There is no one method that works best for everyone. You need to find what's going to work best for you. Feel free to experiment and feel free to make a few mistakes. You're not going to be an instant expert because no one ever is. In his book Linchpin, Seth Godin describes a world where successful employees are expected to take initiative and demonstrate creativity. Social media is a platform to make your expertise apparent. Whether you're looking for a new job, a promotion, or to justify why you're the right choice to lead an exciting new project. There are some common fears about participation in social media. One of the ones that I hear most from people is that they or someone else in their company might inadvertently share sensitive company information, or they might be accused of having done so. My experience with social media suggests that this fear is way overblown. You just need to be aware and you need to be smart. I used to work at Verizon, and I would get asked the occasional question about what Verizon was doing. Usually these questions were not related to anything I could realistically be expected to have known. Most of these questions came from regular conversations and not from social media. But can I just say how happy I was when Verizon got the iPhone? If only people could stop asking me that silly question. If you're really concerned about it, do some research to find out if your company has a social media policy. Verizon did, and it was basically an extension of the standard non-disclosure policy. If there's no policy, ask your manager. If you're feeling really adventurous, talk to corporate counsel. But remember, corporate policies and counsel's directions are best adhered to regardless of what we may think about them. Another concern that I hear from people is that they don't want to be seen as arrogant. People don't want to come across as egotistical. How will people react if they disagree with what you have to say on LinkedIn, Twitter, or some other platform? People hear or see stories or examples of what they consider borderline sociopathic behavior on the net all the time. The reality, though, is that you are an expert. A great way to demonstrate that and strike a modest tone is to provide useful and interesting information to your community. Answer people's questions respectfully. Give more than you receive. Have a long view about the payoff. All of this will go a long way to build the goodwill that establishes a civil discourse. I can honestly say that the vast majority of my interactions on social media have been positive ones. Maybe 1 in 100 have been remotely negative. Most of those have been minor misunderstandings that have been easily cleared up with some quick follow-up discussion. For me, it's always important to operate with the assumption that the other party is behaving with positive intentions and respond accordingly. It's usually the most accurate case. For example, sometimes people will read a title of an article I'm sharing on Twitter and interpret that as a statement I'm making. I just assume that they didn't understand that the tweet was a title. Once I clarify the situation, we're all able to move on. Some people worry about oversharing personal information on social media or mixing personal and professional networks. They worry about maintaining professional demeanor. Maybe their colleagues won't appreciate updates about their kids or their pets. I've handled this by making LinkedIn my purely professional platform. Twitter is my professional platform with some allowance for personality and the occasional F-bomb. And Facebook almost exclusively a social platform. There's some natural overlap among these networks. I do find that people's expectations are largely in line with the distinctions that I've made. People do make mistakes on social media. There does, however, tend to be an appetite for real human behavior and tolerance for the occasional minor misstep. After this tweet was inadvertently sent from the Red Cross account, they sent a few contrite and humorous whoops messages. Donations actually went up, probably because the Red Cross is a great cause with awesome taste in beer. With my participation in social media, I've been able to build a huge professional network that I've been able to tap for expertise and job opportunities. I have over 800 connections on LinkedIn and over 1,600 followers on Twitter. I take care to make sure those connections stay fresh and stay real. Let's talk about another challenge, ownership of content. It's a truism in Web 2.0 world that if you do not pay for a service, then it is you who are the product. Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn sell access and data about their users and the content to marketers and to advertisers. They're not committed to maintaining a complete archive of your content that you can easily access yourself. I strongly recommend that you create your own blog to have your own permanent place to share your expertise on the web. I use WordPress.com, and I pay for an inexpensive service tier to use my own domain and keep ads off my site. This allows me to have long-form content that I can control. This gives me permanence and control that I would not have otherwise. So what are some of the things you can do to get started? How do you find news and information that you can share? For starters, you can use RSS and subscribe to news sites like Reddit, Alltop, StumbleUpon, and Futurity. You'll find interesting tidbits to share on these and other sites. You can also pass along information to people with whom you share a professional interest. There are already several curated lists of competitive intelligence professionals on Twitter. This is also a great way to find people to add to your audience. Find people that you are interested in following and follow them. Send them news that you know will be of interest to them, and they just might follow you back. Finally, if you're at a conference, find out if there is an official Twitter hashtag. Suggest one if the organizers haven't created one yet. Tweet your insights and aha moments. Connect with your fellow conference attendees in the digital realm. These basic steps will go a long way to helping you create a strong professional presence in social media.